Game day.
Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of Chiefs Focus First and 10 Live. You're here with JP, Quentin, and Justin. What's up, fellas?
Not much. How's it going?
Oh, man. It's been a crazy day with this Hard Rock post.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but my God. It stirred up every New England fan on the planet and a lot of Bucs fans because I don't know if anybody heard this, but they said basically Kelsey is still in his prime while Gronk is retired. He basically, he's in his prime while Gronk's not even in the league anymore.
Right.
So it stirred up a whole lot of stuff. I mean, people just out of the woodwork, with the craziest answers. I mean, just things that made zero sense. I wish I could find it right now. I think I'll look for it just so you guys know. Some of the things that were said. Kelsey only had to share targets with some regular receivers they call Cheetah. Gronk deferred to who? Julian Edelman. Okay, well, it really makes zero sense.
Tyreek was only there for a few years with Kelsey. It wasn't very long.
Then some guy put, so sick of this, both world-class players, Gronk better blocking, better in the red zone, Kelsey better receiver, more durable. Debate over. Now we can talk literally about anything else. He's actually not wrong.
No.
I actually like that answer for anybody that's listening.
Mm-hmm.
This guy here, I don't know what he was thinking. 22 less TDs, and Gronk was a far superior blocker. This shit is laughable. Well, you're wrong. But, if red zone touchdowns are, something that you want to brag about and giving yourself 23 concussions and being injured constantly, that's on you. No, not my problem. But I don't know how these people really. One guy here, I'll give you a great one. Who has more rings? The end. So I guess Gronk was the reason why.
Right. Yeah.
Only reason why, by the way.
I hate this discussion about who has more rings and they're a better player, because you could pick whoever the backup quarterback was during the 3 first Super Bowls under Brady, and you could be like, well, they're a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes because he has more rings than him. I hate this conversation about, oh, it's all about the rings, end of story. That's such a
it's like they were the only
mindset.
reason why. I mean,
right. No, I do feel like Gronk won every ring single-handedly. That's it.
Oh, absolutely. There was no one else. The top 5-10 defenses had nothing to do with it. That had zero to do with it. And honestly, if you really look at it, the times that Brady lost the Super Bowl, they had a weak defense.
Yep.
So, and honestly, if that was the case, then Gronk must have played since 2000. I mean, no matter how you look at it, because if he won them all, there's a reason why.
Right.
It's just amazing to me that the amount of craziness that came out of this.
Yeah.
Let's put this to bed. And hopefully anybody that's out there, I put it in the Hard Rock tweet. I hope you guys jump on the show and throw your questions out. Throw out your arguments. We would love to answer them for you.
Mm-hmm.
The numbers are the numbers. You cannot lie. And what is it, Quentin? What's the golden rule of playing in the NFL?
So my dad would always, when we would talk sports, and I think this conversation started up during the Eric Berry conversation, is my dad would always tell me, you can't make the club from the tub.
Damn,
and the tub he's referring to is the ice tub.
Yep.
You can't continue to be regarded as a top player in the NFL or any sport in general when you're injured, when you can't play. And I think that's one of the things that Travis Kelce has done so well in his career in staying healthy, because being healthy is being healthy is an asset in the NFL.
Yeah.
And one of the things, not only has Travis Kelce been healthy, but he's been consistent for the past 6 years in his production while he's been healthy. He has the longest streak of 1,000-yard receiving years. He's had over 1,000 yards since 2006, and he already has 855. So, he's on pace to break that again. He has the most, 100-yard games by a tight end over that time. He just broke Gronk's record earlier this week. So
yeah.
I think it's very important when we talk about, who's the best at this. I think consistency as well as longevity is really important to talk about. And Travis Kelce's been doing it for a long time, and he's been consistent and healthy while he's doing it. There's never been a year where we're trying to figure out, is Kelce going to be able to do it over this time frame? You can't say that about Gronkowski because especially towards the end of his career, you were spending a lot of time questioning, is his body going to stay together this year?
Exactly.
I mean, think about how many braces that man was wearing towards the end of his career. I swear to God, every one of his major joints had a black brace on it.
Yeah, and not to mention the 23 concussions that he had. What's up, Philip? It says, since the Chargers moved to SoFi Stadium in 2000, Kelce has 7 touchdowns, 6 of them to tie games. What does it say? 6 of them to tie games or take the lead. Correct. I think you've probably seen the entire mess on Twitter today. And it's funny that none of these guys want to join in now. They were all, loud on Twitter today, but I guess apparently they decided to go to bed. But anyway, it was comical at best. Now, if you look at it from just the standpoint of, okay, look, Kelce has made quarterbacks better, similar to like how Tony Gonzalez did. I mean, think about what Tony Gonzalez had to play with when he played in Kansas City. Elvis Grbac, Bono, guys that couldn't hit the side of a barn with a football. But Gonzalez had 110 touchdowns in his career, and I think 100 of them were with Kansas City in 12 years. That's the difference between Kelce and Gonzalez compared to the old school, as everybody complains about blocking. Tight ends, who cares? If you can make a chip block and not get yourself injured, because your job as a tight end, especially in the air attack era, is to slow down the defender to allow the runner to get by or to allow the wide receiver to get by. You're not supposed to go head first into somebody and end up with another concussion week in, week out, because you want to prove that you can hit somebody really hard. It doesn't let your career last very long, and you're sure as hell going to – ask George Kittle.
Yeah.
He's been on bench his entire career. There was one comment I'll never forget he said, I love to go out and hit people. Well, that's fantastic. That's not your job. If you want to hit somebody, go on the defensive side of the ball.
Right.
But if you want to win games, you go out and you run. You have 190-yard games like Kelce did, like Shannon Sharp has done.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of guys that you want on your team, not some fool that runs headfirst into a brick wall because he thinks he can. And then he goes on the Pyramid Show with Michael Strahan. And this is a guy's – I got to find this clip. I'll put it up. He actually went on there and it said animals. The question was animals' names that start with the letter. What was it? How did he word it now? Something. It was basically cat. And the letter K. And he said cat. That's exactly what it was. Edelman didn't know what to say. Strahan was behind the podium just crying because he didn't know what to say. His own little teammate that he was trying to win money for didn't understand what the hell he was talking about. How do you figure that out? I mean, there's no cat out there, unless you're talking about a woman, that goes by cat, starts with a K. So I'm sorry, but the concussions didn't do him a whole lot of good.
Mm-hmm.
And I've spoken with his brother before, and his brother said he was kind of like that in college as well. I'm not saying he was a bad player by any means. He was a great player. But longevity, look, Kelce is playing at an elite level right now. He's 33. Gronk is 33. He's doing Subway commercials. He was begged to come back by Brady to win a ring, and he sat on the bench most of the time, and he was injured, of course, during that tenure. And now he's out of the league again. His mother didn't want him going back. And his mom is running the show. So I don't know what more Kelsey has to do besides go out there and run headfirst into somebody and injure himself to prove to these people that he's great.
Yeah.
I don't know what's more he can do.
And
he's passed Gronk in yards, receptions. The only thing Gronk has on him is touchdowns. That's it.
I think as long as Travis Kelce does this for another 2 seasons, I think that would lock it up. I think that would truly end the conversation about who the best tight end is, because touchdowns is a pretty big stat. But, when you look at who's the biggest thing that Travis Kelce has is being able to do it for so long without taking a break. 6 years in a row, he has had 1,000-yard season. The only times that he hasn't, he played in one game his rookie year. He didn't even start that game. Exactly. He didn't have any targets or receptions. So realistically, if you think about it, he's only had 2 years where he hasn't broken the 1,000-yard mark. In both of those years, he had over 850 yards.
Yeah.
So the guy's been producing for this team really since he got here. And I think that means something, that when you're able to come in day one and be able to produce for this team for such a significantly long time.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but the last, 18, 19, 20, and 21, they didn't have the best defenses either.
Right.
And you're talking about 4 AFC championship games, 2 Super Bowls, won one of them. So what? I mean, yeah, he doesn't have 4 Super Bowl rings. So what? He's not the only guy on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know what more they want. Go ahead, Justin.
No, I was just going to say, Travis Kelce's done a really good job of just getting in the way. He's a smart player, and he doesn't lead with his head. When we're going back to the blocking stuff, he just kind of just gets in the way. And I think that's better than anyone can do, is he's still making the exact same play, but he's protecting his body. And he doesn't really show any signs of slowing down as far as his production so far. And, I mean, I think he's still got 3-4 good years in him. So
yeah, I mean, he'll play as long as Gonzalez did.
Mm-hmm.
He'll play until he's 37 years old.
Yep.
And he'll be probably I mean, everybody said he was slowing down last year. Oh, he's lost his step. Well, they didn't take into consideration he was injured. Still had a 1,000-yard season, but he was injured for 9 weeks last year, and wasn't 100% the entire year. So, but he played, and he didn't have a concussion from being injured. That wasn't his injury. Gronk, man, he would honestly just hit people to hit him, and that exactly what you guys just said makes all the difference in the world. Playing smart doesn't make you a worse player. It makes you a smarter player and a better player.
Right.
Because your longevity is there.
It adds value.
It adds value. And no matter how you look at it, that is value. The old school tight ends have been gone for a very long time. Gonzalez was the first tight end, Shannon Sharp, that decided to be a very large blocker, tight end that can catch and run the ball. And then that went away again for a while. Now it's back.
Mm-hmm. But
these old school guys, that feel like, a tight end is nothing but a big blocker. That's not the case. I mean, Jody Fortson, you're going to say the same thing about him? He can go up and catch the ball as good as anybody.
Right.
So Mark Andrews, leading receiver for Lamar Jackson last year. What more do we want? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what more people want, other than they want to see him get hurt, because if he doesn't get hurt, then he's not a true tight end. Right. That's the mentality of some of these people.
I think the thing that sets one of the other things, I should say, because there's a lot of things. One of the things that really sets Travis Kelce apart is his ability to, live for another down, but also not give up those extra yards. So you see some of these tight ends like Gronk, for example, he would just come in and he would just bull rush dudes into the ground, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That was sort of his thing, is he would just come in and it was like, how do you tackle this guy? He's so big and he's so athletic. How do we tackle this guy? So you would have your safeties and linebackers come up and you would just get bowled over. Travis Kelce doesn't do that. Instead, when he's running up the seams, he's able to sort of shimmy his way around you. He's not around here breaking ankles or anything like that, but he's able to avoid those big hits. And instead of you running into him and it taking 3 guys to tackle you, he'll sort of move his way around and you pop him on the shoulder, but he's still able to stay upright and continue to get those yards. So I think there's that aspect as well, is that sometimes it just doesn't look like he's a tight end when he's out there, which is obviously a good thing for the Chiefs and Travis Kelce, but sometimes he doesn't look like a tight end. And to continue off that, he doesn't just play the tight end role. I don't ever remember Gronkowski playing out in the slot nearly as much as Travis Kelce does.
No.
When the Chiefs do their trips right or trips left sets, Travis Kelce is out there as one of the guys out in that set. So, Travis Kelce is also used as a wide receiver in a lot of ways. It's just that on the depth chart he has a TE next to his name. There's a lot of times where it almost is like he's truly a wide receiver as well. And I think that sort of, if you get a group of people out there that are just completely, he's not a tight end. I think there's that too, where he truly doesn't play 100% a tight end role, at least what we would think of as a pure tight end role anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And that's part of the game now. I mean, it's not like it's something new for everybody. This is something that's been going on for a while, but yet people just don't understand it. They just figure, it's like this guy. He's right. He said, "Look, and just look who Gronk's quarterback was his whole career." I mean, these guys they're still talking on Twitter about it, but they won't join the discussion, which is mind-boggling to me that they won't join this. I mean, if you're really serious about this whole situation, then join in. It's not that difficult. It's pretty easy, really. Join in the conversation and let's hear your arguments. No matter how you look at it, Kelce's still playing at a high level. Gronk is not. He retired once and he actually outright admitted that he had 22 concussions at the time. Came out and said, "Well, I've had 22 concussions." The NFL apparently didn't care, and he may have not have said anything, but he's had 22 concussions. Now he's 23. So why is it that, nobody wants to admit the fact that Kelce has played smart? His blocking is fine. He doesn't hurt himself to do it. He continually allows wide receivers and running backs to move forward. And when he catches the ball, you don't know what he's going to do. He did it to the Chargers twice this year. Destroyed the Chargers twice this year. I mean, how many 190-yard games did Gronk have? Has anybody looked that up? I don't think he's had too many.
Yeah.
If any.
Yeah, I don't think he's had any.
I mean, if people want to say that, he's a glorified offensive tackle that goes out there and catches balls, that's great. I mean, if that's what you want to put him as. But Gonzalez, Kelce, Gronk are all in that same size frame, that 6'5", 6'6", 265. I mean, I don't know too many offensive linemen that are that big.
Right.
Or that small, I should say. I mean, how many offensive linemen have you guys seen that weigh 265 pounds?
Not me.
I mean, no matter how you look at it, it's kind of a stupid comment. But regardless, hopefully they'll join in fairly soon. I think they're all just a little nervous about their comments and probably just don't want to say anything at this point. But the conversation's there. I put it in the chat on Twitter. If they want to join in, bring your words in. Let's just stuff them right now. As far as I'm concerned, Kelce's a better player because he's still playing.
Yep.
At a very high level.
That's the key. The key is that not only is he still playing, but he's still playing at that elite level, and it is an elite level. And he's been doing it for 6 years. That is a crazy amount of time for a guy to be playing at such a high level, especially at a position that, even though we say that he avoids the big hit, he's still taking hits every single game. So it really is crazy to think what he's done over the past 6 years.
And if he's smart enough to get the hell out of the way or not take a massive hit, after yard, even with the yak that he has, what's wrong with that?
Right.
What's wrong with not taking a helmet-to-helmet hit or getting injured because you want your career to last and you want to stay in the game? One guy posed his argument was, you never seen Gronk come out of the game. Really? Because he was injured pretty much all of his career.
Because he wasn't in the game to start.
Yeah, if he wasn't, I mean, he wasn't in the game to start with. The guy played injured, and he had to come out every other play because his knees were destroyed. His brain was destroyed. He just wasn't all there. Physically wasn't all there. Mentally wasn't all there. And nobody wants to admit that part of it.
Right.
So Philip said Kelsey has more 150-plus yard games than Gronk, 3. He just needs 3 more to surpass Shannon Sharp with 6. Well, he'll get that. I have no doubt that he'll get that.
Yeah, maybe by the end of the season.
Yeah. I mean, Shannon Sharp was an elite tight end. There was no doubt about it. He was elite. He was better than his brother. He was really, honestly, he was better than Gonzalez in a lot of ways because he had so many. I think he holds the record, or is second in the NFL with 223 yards in one game, which is kind of insane.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was in the 90s,
the
early 2000s. This wasn't recent. This was back with Elway.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Anyway,
Quick
Justin,
math.
you jumped on, huh? Go ahead.
Quick math tells me that Gronk has missed about 30 games in his career.
I think he's missed full seasons. And then
I didn't include the year he retired.
Yeah. Oh, no, he's missed full seasons during his career. I mean, he played one game and then out for the season. His knees were destroyed the first 3 years he played.
In 2013, he played in 7 games. And in 2016, he played in 8. So
What he played through 10, 11, and 12?
He played in both. The only time he's played 16 games was in 10 and 11. And then in 14 and 15, he played in 15 games. Oh, and then in 2020, he also played in all 16 games.
But did he play how many? I wonder how many snaps he took in all of those games.
I don't
have a snap count percentage in front of me.
I was gonna say I'm gonna do an article about the snap count of that stuff too. I'm gonna bring all the advanced
We'll
stuff.
have to find that one out.
So I'll get you guys some stuff soon.
Because I guarantee you the snap count on Kelsey's probably triple what Gronk's is.
Yeah.
So
yep, I'll keep an eye out for that one. I'll have it out soon.
Yeah.
I also think it's important to point out that all of Gronk's, we talk about his stats. You know, he has played in more playoff games, so he has that extra time to develop some of those stats too.
Yeah.
So just for context there as well.
Agreed.
So
and always people have to remember, they said, well, it's because of Mahomes. Well, 2 years of those 1,000-yard seasons of the 6 straight were
under
with Alex Smith. So, and I'm not doubting Alex Smith, but look.
No, it's just a different offense.
It's a different offense, and not to mention the fact that Alex, just as good as he was as a game manager and even a player, and he put himself out there on the line. I mean, I remember the guy diving like 8 yards through the air head first to get a first down. One of his last 2 years in Kansas City. And he got hit, spun around like a helicopter, and got the first down. But he just didn't have that umph to push him over the limit, over the edge, push us over the edge. The playoffs always got to him. And honestly, we don't know if that was all him or if that was a little bit of Andy Reid. We just don't know. But look, I mean, Gronk had he did have his entire career played with Brady. Yep. And somebody actually posed something. I didn't even know this about Gronk. Apparently he was drafted by Detroit.
Huh.
And he threw a baby fit and didn't want to play there.
Well, touche.
Yes, I didn't know that. So, so there's that too.
Mm-hmm.
Kelsey, went where he had to go, and he's made a career of it, and he's continuing on with a great career. He's not going to slow down. He hasn't slowed down. Kudos to the guy for playing smart. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I mean, no matter how you look at it, he's playing extremely smart. And I'll just put it this way. When Kelsey is 50, Kelsey will still look like Kelsey right now.
Yeah.
When Gronk is 50, You'll be lucky to see him if he's not in a wheelchair. And I'm not being a jackass. That's just true.
Right.
His knees are destroyed. His body's destroyed. He just doesn't have anything left. And that's on him.
Mm-hmm.
That's on him. And Kittle is, if he doesn't slow down with what, I mean, I didn't realize Kittle had been in the league so long.
Mm-hmm.
But Kittle's been in the league a long time.
Yep.
And his numbers are nowhere near Kelsey's.
Right.
I think he's been in the league 9 years, if I'm not mistaken. It's 8 or 9 years. And his numbers are nowhere near Kelsey's.
Mm-hmm.
And he's one of those guys that wants to run into a brick wall.
But
He loves to hit people. So I don't know. I mean, it just makes zero sense to me. Yeah, you're right. Arrowhead Chiefs podcast said it. He couldn't rise. Alex Smith couldn't rise above the X's and O's, and he couldn't. That's the difference between being Mahomes, Montana. When you have a 31st ranked defense and you can still go to the AFC Championship game and take it into overtime, that proves that you're a great quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'll say this, that I think the Alex Smiths of the world, Alex Smith, Jimmy Garoppolo, Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, like all of these sort of guys, different levels of the tier list here, but I think a lot of those, they should go in the same sort of genre of quarterback, if you will, where when it comes down to it, there's going to be games you can look back on and say, that guy elevated his play and was able to win us that game. That guy was able to turn a franchise around, because I think that the Chiefs, obviously, before we got Alex Smith, we were a laughing stock. We hadn't had a quality team since the early 2000s. I think you could say the same thing about a lot of those teams that I had just mentioned. Like the Vikings, until they got Kirk Cousins, they were spinning their tires, right? So these are guys that when you get them in the door, they're able to sort of settle the group and get your franchise back on track to where you become a winning record franchise.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in order to win that next level, to win consistently, to go to playoffs, win playoff games, that sort of stuff, the team and the opportunity to win those games just has to line up so perfectly. The stars have to align in such a perfect manner that it's more difficult to win Super Bowls that way, or to even successfully win back-to-back playoff games. And, we see that 49ers are a great example. Look, they've been to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. Hell, they've been to an NFC Championship game, 2 of them with Jimmy Garoppolo, won one, lost one. So it's possible to be in that position and be successful with that quarterback, especially during the regular season. But in order to beat the best of the best, which is what the playoffs are, and in order to move up to that next level consistently, you got to have a guy that can take that next step up, and that's what Patrick Mahomes has done here. So Alex Smith, he will forever be known as the guy in my Chiefs fandom that settled the dust on what this franchise was, because there were a lot of good pieces when Alex Smith got here, and there was a good foundation when Alex Smith got here. And for him to help this franchise take the next step with helping Patrick out and becoming a professional quarterback and doing what he did, I mean, there was a reason that when Alex Smith was traded to the Commanders, that Kansas City Chiefs fans were donating to his charity.
Yeah.
Because we'd realized as a fan base what he was able to do and to make this team relevant again, because it was not. When I was younger, there were the threats of the blackouts because the team wasn't selling enough tickets. There was the guys that continued to come in. It wasn't bad as the Cleveland Browns, but it was essentially the same list of guys that it's just like, oh, who the hell is starting quarterback for us this week?
Exactly.
It was that same sort of idea. And no matter who we were able to get into the door, they couldn't get it done. And you were fans of players, the Jamal Charles, the Tamba Ali's, that would come in and be stars on this franchise. But there was never that guy that could settle the dust, and that's what Alex Smith did.
And you feel bad for guys like that too, Quentin. I mean, I feel bad for the Tom Ali's and the Derek Johnsons and the Eric Berrys and all those guys that played their asses off to get to that point and just couldn't get over the hump. And that was when we had, a really good defense. I mean, those few years that our defense was good because of those guys, it just didn't pan out for them. And I feel bad for them because they played very hard to get to that point. But again,
that was a fun defense. I mean, you got Tamba on one side, Just Houston on the other,
yeah,
Derek Johnson playing in the middle, and Eric Berry in the back. I mean, what a crew of guys. And I know they were only together for like 2 years, but still, you're talking about one of the top defenses I've ever seen play in red and gold.
Yeah, I mean, we had a really good defense in the '90s, but again, it was Marty ball. So, there was times you ran on fourth down.
Yeah, you run on first down, you run on second down, you run again on third down, and you punt.
Yeah, that's just how I thought about it. Until Montana. When Montana came, that changed a little bit because that was in his contract. You're going to let me throw because that's what I do. But after that, it was right back to Marty ball again.
As somebody who played in a Marty ball offense back in high school, when my coach would say to our offense, I was the pulling guard, and he would say, we're going to run on first down, we're going to run on second down, we're going to run on third down, and all we got to do is get 3 yards a gain because we're going to run the ball on fourth down.
Yeah.
That's what he told us.
Yeah.
I was like, that's what
I know, man.
So even in the more amateur leagues or whatever you want to call high school football, even that gets frustrating because that, damn, if we could get 1 10-yard pass, we could just reset this thing. But you're going to keep running the ball. So I can only imagine it would have been like as a professional having to deal with something like that when it just feels like you're banging your head up against the wall when it's not working. But you got to go with the head coach. So.
Yep. Well, I mean, he said there was dark days as a Chiefs fan.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Don't ever let any other fan base tell you that we didn't go through it for this.
Yeah.
We didn't. We went through hell to get to where we are now. We stood strong, and you know who the Chiefs fans are that watch this. Brody Croyle throw the ball and Matt Castle. We know that. You know who those people are. So don't let any other fan base try and tell you that you don't deserve this or anything along that lines because we've been here.
Yeah, I mean, numerous times. I actually put out a couple of tweets on the Hard Rock post. And actually, the last one I put out, I actually copied and pasted the link and put it in there. I said, "Are you scared?" with some question marks. Hard Rock liked it because not one of those guys that were running their mouth or jumping out.
Oh, God. Now the chat is just going to fill up with a bunch of quarterbacks, and I'm going to be like, that I've been shoved in the back of my head as like trauma, like Tyler Thigpen. Thanks for that. Yeah. Tyler Thigpen was another one of the guys. The chat's just going to fill with quarterback names that I'm going to I forgot that guy was even in a Chiefs uniform.
Yeah.
That's like when I saw Chase Daniel standing on the sideline on the Chargers game. I was like, yeah, I remember watching that guy.
Justin had to pop off. His computer actually auto-updated on its own. So he'll be back in a minute, but I'm going to let him know. Anyway, we went through it was a 50-year drought. No matter how you look at it, it was a 50-year drought. And we got to a point where when we brought Andy in and Brett Veach, I'm not going to give John Dorsey much credit of anything because honestly, it was Veach that found everybody. It was Andy that signed off on him. And Dorsey may have been the guy there for Kelsey, but as far as everybody else is concerned, moving forward, that was all Brett Veach and Andy. I really don't think John Dorsey had the sense to bring in play. He didn't even want Patrick Mahomes. So, it took basically Veach kicking doors in and then Andy saying, "Hey, you need to look at this kid," before they would have, made the move. So I give this all to Veach and Andy, and I'm happy that we're where we're at. But Justin had the opportunity to jump on a Spaces today. I believe it was today. Yeah, today with McCole Hardman and talked to him a little bit. He's says he's going to be ready to go after the 4 weeks. So we'll see if he is or isn't. He seems to be ready to come back, so that's promising. He jumped on one with Mark Ganells today, and he does them every once in a while. With the last one I think he did that I had seen was "Is water wet?" and that was a huge debate for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, which was actually kind of comical because then it got into sandwiches and a bunch of other things. You know, how did the sandwich come about? And I told him how that came about. But anyway, he does some pretty funny stuff. I hope he does come back and he's playing well. It's not going to continue to nag him, and he can, finish out the season. But you had some stuff, Quentin. What was it?
Steve Spagnuolo, the coordinators, did their press conference today, and so Steve Spagnuolo came up and he was asked about Cook. He stepped in for Thornhill when he went out with his injury, and it was very interesting to say. He really talked up Cook, and he said he's a cerebral player, and I love those kind of guys. And he talked for another probably minute about just how well and the kind of player that he is. So it's good to see that your coach has confidence in your backups, and not only your backups but your rookies, the guys that you don't really want to see play that much, but when you do, you know that they're going to be out there and playing. Generally speaking, if you're a corner or a safety, if your name's not getting called by the announcers, you're doing a good thing. And we couldn't even tell that Cook was playing. He was not. It was like nothing changed when Thornhill went out. And I'm a little disappointed in myself for not talking about that in our show on Sunday night. But, if Spagnuolo can talk about him, I think that we need to talk about him today too. Just how well he's just another one of those rookies that's been able to step in.
Yeah, I agree. That's just another product of Veach and what he does, because he brings in depth, and that depth really shows on the field. We were down 3 wide receivers in that game. When you think about it, I mean, Tony was out, McCole was out, Juju was out, and still came back and fought through it with the guys that we had. And of course, Kelsey played his normal great game, but it just shows you the resilience and the intelligence of a great GM and head coach to bring in the guys that will fit within our system and continue to move forward, offensively and defensively. I think, the one thing that I did notice, and I kind of brought it up on the last show, and I don't know why they put Wiley back in as starting again. He was the reason why Patrick was pressured so much. It's that simple. It always came off his side. And again, that was that weak link in the chain. Prince did a great job. They should have continued on with him. And that may be something that Patrick finally makes a decision on and says, look, I don't want to be chased around anymore. I don't want to be hammered into the ground if I don't have to be because of one guy. I mean, it's that simple. I don't like to slam players, but he's not playing as well as he should be. And Prince did a great job. He tightened up that chain. I don't know any other way of saying it. It needs that. There's little things that you fix along the way, and there's little things that you see that make a huge difference. And if you don't continue on with that change, it can bite you in the butt later on. And who knows? I mean, I'm just hoping that they decide what's best for them at this point. And I think in what's best for Patrick, there was times he had all the time in the world, and there was times that he had no time. And most of it was no time. And it's been that way on and off this season. And everybody blamed Orlando Brown. He was the only reason why, but it wasn't him. Look, everybody's going to go through the same thing that a defensive line goes through on the offensive side. If you've got one person that is allowing things to fall apart, it hurts the rest of the players because they're trying to double protect a player that they shouldn't have to be doing. They should stick to their guy, stick on their assignment. But when you have to pick up somebody else's slack, it's very difficult. So people can blame Orlando Brown all they want. Has he played the best? No, but there's always reasons behind it. I don't think he purposely, just he did change his stance a little bit and he fixed that problem.
Yeah, we talked about that, and
Yeah,
that's helped him a lot.
yeah,
I was gonna push back on the Orlando Brown thing because early in the year he was part of the problem. He was a significant part of the problem, and part of that is that he does not have the size advantage that a lot of left tackles have, and he struggles with speed rushers because of that lack of size. And his problem is that he was overstepping that
yeah,
first step. Is that first like kick block when you're taking that first step back, he was overstepping and guys were able to get around him because of that. And so that it seems like that has been coached out of him because I haven't had to I've been probably a month and a half, 2 months. I haven't come on this show, any of them, and had to be, disappointed in the way that he has been, or Orlando Brown's been playing. Orlando Brown has been playing.
yeah,
So, with kudos to a guy coming out, getting better, offensive line coach, helping him out. He definitely hasn't been, the weakest link in that line. I do agree that, Prince came out and played well, and then to put Wiley back in there confuses me to say the least.
yeah,
I would have, that if they would have made that switch at the deadline, that would have surprised, or at the trade deadline or the bye week, that wouldn't have surprised me at all. You know, that would have made sense to me that if that were to happen to make that switch. I still think that they're waiting to see what Niang has at that position. I think if Niang comes back and they're healthy, that they'd put him in, which would make sense because you don't want to make 3 changes to your offensive line if you don't have to. So
yeah,
to come in and put Niang in there, maybe they're waiting for that, but up until then, this is to me. I just want to see the change, but when I'm not in the room, so I
yeah.
don't want to say that what they're doing is the wrong call here.
Well, I mean, and again, you're right. We're not coaches. I guess it's just from experience and seeing what we've seen on the opposite side. You would question why they would do that. It was similar to something that would, like a Daniel Sorensen move from last year with Spagnuolo. You knew that Thornhill was a better player. You knew that he was going to be able to step in, and he did when he was on the field. But yet you kept pulling him and putting him in a different position or not starting him over, with Sorensen, who caused us a lot of problems. I don't really understand it, but again, I'm not a coach, so maybe they'll decide to make that change when they're ready to. I really don't know what their plan is with that right now. They do need to figure out something though, because Wiley he struggled all year. He's allowed the most sacks, the most pressures, and the most hits on Mahomes out of every offensive lineman. So everybody on that line is held up, for the most part, held up their end of the bargain, except for Orlando at the beginning of the season when he was having his struggles with stance. And part of that problem too, getting to the Orlando thing, when your legs are spread that far out, it could be 3 inches difference between you spinning around and being able to block a fast edge rusher or not. And when he tightened himself up a little bit, he was able to get around there, keep the block going long enough for Patrick to step up in the pocket, roll out, whatever he had to do to make a play, or just, be able to stand exactly where he's at and just find the open receiver. So, at least he made the conscious effort to change what was going on. And so far, week 10, we haven't seen that really with Wiley.
Yeah,
So,
with the Orlando Brown thing, you can kind of try this yourself. If you get in sort of an athletic stance and somebody pushes you, you'll take that one step back, but you're quick to recover.
Yeah.
Now, if you extend your stance out, a little bit wider and somebody does that, you're going to fall on your ass.
Exactly.
It's the exact same thing. It's, getting up there. Now, the thing is, though, and I mentioned this, that he struggles with those speed guys. One of the reasons you could have a wider stance is to try and make up for the fact that you're slower.
Yeah.
So you have your foot just a little bit extra back because you're trying to cheat a little bit. You're trying to make sure that you have that half step advantage to make sure you can get back a little faster. So some of these top edge speed guys aren't able to beat you on those on their speed move.
Yeah.
So it's not like that decision that was being made was a conscious one. I'm going up against, and early in the year, you got to remember we were going up against some of the best defensive linemen in the league.
Yes.
So it's sort of a give and take here. It's, can I cheat a little bit and can I get away with making sure that that little extra half step does make a difference, because football is a game of inches. So if I'm able to take that little extra half step before the ball is snapped because my stance is a little wider, can I get away with that? And these elite defenders realize that and are able to hit you early and then get around you. That's why Patrick Mahomes was under so much pressure early in the year, because Orlando Brown just simply isn't good enough against those speed rushers, while he's trying to get that extra half step. So, he's made adjustments, and I want to be completely transparent. Earlier in the year, I was very critical of Orlando Brown. Now I still justify my criticism of Orlando Brown, but I do think that he's gotten significantly better, and I want to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah. Yeah. Arrowhead Chiefs podcast said, yeah, coaches can be stubborn, and they can be. We've seen that firsthand. We went through the phases with Sutton and even Spagnuolo for that matter. And now, some with Andy a little bit, a lot with other coaches. It's strange when you look at offensive coordinators in this league and how many of them were actually running backs, how many of them were quarterbacks. You usually see a quarterback or a non-running back offensive coordinator, and especially now versus 20 years ago. But things change so differently when you have a running back offensive coordinator, because of course they're going to be biased towards the run. Now, when you have a guy like Pacheco, it's okay. We balanced it out this week. We ran the ball efficiently while he was on the field, and we threw the ball well. So there's a give and take when it comes to that. I think Clyde has done himself in finally. They put him in for a couple of plays, and he went nowhere, and then he got injured. So, and I've been saying this all year. I don't think he's going to be here next year. I'm pretty sure he's not. And I think Pacheco is going to, he did. And we knew from really March, April, or no, I'm sorry, I take that back. During training camp, we were told that he was most likely going to take the starting position somewhere around between week 5 and week 7. And he did. They eased him into it. And now he's just pounding the ball. And he hurts. I mean, I'm telling you, they're in SoFi right now repairing turf. The guy he tears up the ground. And I love the fact that when he's done, when the play is over, he is back in the huddle so quick. It's like he just doesn't stop. And it's like he's always in a 2-minute drill. And I love that about him, because it just shows his desire to win, his desire to get back out there, keep the ball moving, keep the momentum going. And that's what you have to have. You don't see that with Clyde. So I think he would be great in somebody else's offense, just not ours. It just is what it is. It's just he's just not going to do well in our offense.
And here's the other thing too, is that even before the draft, Brett Veach came out and said publicly that with the COVID year beforehand and some of the guys that stayed in the league an extra year, he said that there was going to be a 1,000-yard rusher coming out of the 7th round or undrafted.
Mm-hmm.
So when the Chiefs were when they picked up Pacheco, they picked him up because they saw that sort of potential in him. Now, the guy's not going to rush for 1,000 yards in this offense because we don't simply hand the ball off enough to get to those sort of numbers. However, that's the sort of guy that they think he is, because when you come out and say that there's that sort of talent all the way through the draft and you pick him up, obviously the team believes in him. So to have that transition really, really, really is important in moving Pacheco forward and the running game forward. And I just simply agree with you guys. I just don't see Clyde really becoming a factor in this offense ever again. I think that there are definitely going to be games where he's going to be activated and he's going to get, he'll touch the ball 4 or 5 times, but him being the guy and him being the guy in the first 15 plays, I just don't see it anymore.
Yeah, I agree. There was Caleb posted a question on Twitter about what's his name, Gordon, that was released.
Melvin Gordon.
Gordon. Yeah,
I swear I don't want to hear any conversation about him becoming a Chief.
No,
the guy's got 2 butter sticks for hands.
He really does. And I actually said that.
He fumbles the ball he's fumbled the ball 5 or 6 times. Now, somehow the Broncos have recovered every single one of those fumbles.
Yeah.
None of his fumbles have been given up. But the dude's run around with 2 Lando Lakes for arms. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
it's like he just lathers himself with butter before he goes out on the field.
It's bad, dude. It's not. And I think 4 of them, I know as for a fact that 4 of them have been in the red zone.
Yeah. Well, the reason I brought that up was because it was posed as a question, not that we wanted him for any reason. And man, did that thing draw some negative responses. But it was posed as a question. Look, I never would think that we would sign him, nor did we want to. It was just posed as a question to see what the fans thought. Because usually, to be honest with you, every time a player is cut, it doesn't matter if they are in a wheelchair, the Chiefs want them. The fans want them. That's just the fans want everybody. If we took everybody that
we have a 96-man roster. What you
talking about? God. I mean, we'd have to change the game of football completely. So it was just posed as a question, but man, did it draw out some serious hate. I was like, wow. Not one person said yes out of the.
That's good to know. It is good that Chiefs Kingdom eventually stops drinking the Kool-Aid, because
exactly.
Man, if he would have, oh God, if he would have, I'd have been so pissed. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'd have been so pissed. Yeah, it was you know what? And we didn't even get to benefit from the Melvin Gordon fumble. The guy couldn't stick around until December. Okay, yeah. I wanted to get one of those fumbles, but no.
I know it sucks. But we still. I mean, I don't even know if did they replace him?
They've got other guys on their roster.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I guess they just didn't replace it. I mean, they didn't add another person.
I'm sure that they had a guy on their practice squad, because in today's NFL, who doesn't have a running back on their practice squad?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, look at what you can do. You can find there's so many undrafted free agents that end up on practice squads throughout the league. So I wouldn't be surprised if they elevated a guy, but I can't tell you for sure who it is.
Yeah, Justin made it back. What's up, buddy?
What's up, guys? Sorry about that. Computer just started updating out of the blue. So
yeah, that happens.
I had to
program mine to do it at 2 a.m. because if I didn't, then it would just update on its own.
I was going to say it's something I've never really thought about, but
yeah,
I'll take care of it now. But have you guys discussed Ronald Jones at all?
We have not.
Why don't you? Ronald Jones. What are you guys' thoughts about that? As far as obviously McKinnon and Pacheco are a really good combo, I think, but I mean, there's always got to have a third guy there to take a few snaps. I mean, Clyde kind of looks like that guy, but I could also see Ronald Jones kind of sneaking in, especially with Edwards hurt. So what are you guys' thoughts on that?
That's what I've heard. I've heard they've saved him for the end of the season. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to elevate him.
Yep. I could see it. I think there's no better possible matchup for Kansas City right now than Pacheco and McKinnon. But I think for that third guy, I think Ronald Jones would be pretty good. And I think him and Jody Fortson both are kind of becoming almost secret weapons heading into playoffs. They're going to be guys that don't really show up on film or the stat sheet, but then they'll make a big impact when needed. So that's just something to kind of look out for later on.
Yeah, I think that if the injury to Clyde ends up taking him out on free Rojo, that's funny. Sorry, I glanced at the chat. I do read the chat, but
I do too.
That was funny.
That was.
If Clyde is injured enough to where he's going to have to set out a game, I think there's no question that you elevate Ronald Jones, and because you need to have those three running backs, because you know the role of those two guys, specifically McKinnon's role. His role is
Right.
that third down back guy, and you don't want to have, God forbid, like Pacheco get hurt. You don't want to run with McKinnon as your only running back for an entire game. So I think that you have Ronald Jones as the back. Now, whether he touches the ball or not, I'm not sure, like how the numbers would be split. But just the fact that he'd be suited up for a game, I 100% would go with that if Clyde isn't able to go. If Clyde is able to go, I still think that they keep Rojo on their, on the back burner. I say back burner, but usually you have the back burner turned on. He's still the pan that's shoved all the way in the back of the cabinet that you only get out like twice a year. You know what I'm talking about. Everybody has that pan. You bought a set 4 or 5 years ago, and you were like, I don't even know what I'm going to use this for, but it came in the set. So it's shoved all the way in the back. It's still in brand new condition. That's what the Chiefs are doing with Ronald Jones right now. But, when the other pan gets dirty, eventually you're going to remember you have that in there, and you don't want to do dishes yet. That's what that pan's used for.
Yeah, when you scratch one up, you got to go to the next one. So
exactly.
I mean, just how it works. But I'm hoping that I'm hoping he gets his play time, because honestly, the free Rojo comment's actually real. The guy, I don't think he deserves to be sitting just waiting. Of course, we don't have the running back or the running scheme that everybody else does, the running back scheme that everybody else does, but I still think he could be a huge part because he is a pounder, and I think he could get in there and do some damage. Hopefully what we heard was true, and that they're saving him for the last half of the season and into the playoffs, and bring in some different, I guess, different players. Jody is that kid that is going to scare everybody. So when it happens and he's playing a lot, oosh, I could just see the fear.
Too, is that I don't want him to get activated and then them to use them just to use them. I am against having a three running back, like triple-headed monster type deal. I think that the running back position, you've got to have your guy that's your running back, and then you can have your third down back, because obviously there's two different skill sets there that a lot of players, they can't really do both of them, right? We know McKinnon is so good at pass blocking, and that's difficult for some running backs to do, and that's okay. Having a couple of running backs is totally fine. But the other thing that I will say is that if you have a three linebacker set, if you have a three running back group, I'm worried you're going to take the ball away from Pacheco, let's say. And we know that Pacheco is good, so why give those options to Rojo when you know what you have is a good option? So just keep the two system going. Now you have Rojo as that third option, in case somebody gets hurt. But I just don't want him to get the ball just for him to get the ball. That's all I'm saying.
I understand that. I just think if you have a third option, I would rather it be him than Clyde right now. I just would.
I think Ronald Jones and Jody Fortson could both add almost an unlimited amount of different formations Kansas City could run too. I mean, obviously the option's there already, but especially come playoff time, we all know Andy kind of keeps things vanilla until they need it. So come playoff time, I think they could there's so many different things they would be able to do with a three running back set or two tight end set, stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I guess they were all scared. Everybody in that chat that was all over the Gronk situation today, they're fairly scared because they haven't jumped into the conversation. Even Hard Rock retweeted it, like, hey, jump in the conversation, but they didn't want to do that.
I did have I don't know, a poll that I put out, I think last night after the game, and I just thought I was being funny about it, and I thought that I'd like to share it. So the question was, after Patrick Mahomes had a spectacular performance, it's time to see who was in the MVP race, and I picked 3 options: Patrick Mahomes, left-handed Mahomes, or down by 10 Mahomes. Just just so you know, down by 10 Mahomes won with 56% of the vote, and Patrick Mahomes came in second with 42%. I am a little surprised that left-handed Mahomes only got 2% of the vote.
Throws pretty good with that left hand. I mean, hey, any Mahomes I'm good with. You know, I mean, honestly, I'm good with any Mahomes at this point. So
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's kind of comical. Thinking about it, I mean, he does everything over the top. I guess I don't even know how to express how good he is, and I think that's a lot of the hate that we get too, is that, you know, nobody else has one.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how they look at it, they don't have a Mahomes. You know, there's not another Mahomes in the league, and nor should there be. I mean, nobody wants. Look, everybody wants to have Mahomes himself on their team, but who wants to be? You got to be yourself. If you can't be yourself, then there's no point in playing the game. Don't try to go out and be somebody that you're not. We learned that with D-Rob. We've learned it with millions of other players. Be who you are. Play the game the way you know how to play it within your skill set, and you'll be as successful as you can possibly be. But if you go out there and you try to do the sliders and the curveballs and the left-handed throws and, you know, off the back foot across your body, and you're not accurate, you're going to fall apart. Arrowhead Chiefs podcast said he likes the down by 10 Mahomes. Yeah, he's more. That was another thing that was brought up too. They said something about Mahomes during that Red Rock thing that went on about Gronk and Kelsey, is that, you know, Mahomes this, Mahomes that. And I said, they said something about Kelsey losing the Super Bowl single-handedly by himself. And then they said, what was the one? Oh, that San Francisco couldn't hold the lead. Well, nobody seems to hold a lead.
Generally speaking, you tend to lose football games because you don't have the lead. Now,
or you can't hold the lead.
Yeah, I'm not like, you know, I'm not a numbers guy or anything. Like, I'm not a mathematician or a statistician or anything. Yeah. But I'd like to think that all the teams that lose football games lose because they can't hold a lead. But that's just me.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, honestly, you could learn that in the 3rd grade and figure that one out, but or maybe earlier. But yeah, it's pretty comical because every game that season, he was down during the playoffs by 10, 20, and came back and won by 10, 24. So that was kind of a weird thing to even spout off. I don't know. They were just trying to come up with shit today. I don't know any other way of saying it. They were coming out of left field with all this crap, and I'm laughing. Half the other people are laughing at him. But, boy, you got a lot of faithful. I will give New England this, and I will give Brady this. They have a whole lot of loyal followers, because no matter how you look at it, they will go to bat for those guys. No matter if they win, lose, indifferent, doesn't matter what it is, they go to bat for them. And even the New England guys, after Brady left and went to the Bucs, they're still on Brady's side. And I know they're still upset because they don't have, you know, a good quarterback right now. Or, I mean, well, I can't say good, but not an elite. They've got an average quarterback. And that's not helping them any. They still got a winning record. I don't know what they're complaining about, but of course they're just not used to not going to the playoffs or not getting a win in the playoffs, whatever the case is. And this is going on, what, is this the 3rd year Brady's been gone, or 4th?
I think it's the 3rd.
3rd, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's time to get used to it. Things diminish. You know, right. we're all going to have to figure that out one day. Mahomes has got a lot of career left, but one day it'll all start over again, just like it did in New England.
We
So
can
that's
hope
why
that
you just
doesn't
don't.
happen. But
Yeah, yeah. It's something that you have to remember and keep in the back of your mind and not get greedy about, because it can end.
maybe
We
Patrick
don't.
Mahomes III will be ready by then.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, hopefully, he'll be there and ready to play. I mean, hell, look at LeBron. He's got a kid.
Yep.
It's cool. So it's yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Arrowhead Live. That's stupid. How about play better defense? Exactly. If you can't hold down Mahomes, that's on you.
Right.
We haven't found a team yet, for the most part, that can hold down Mahomes. I mean, hell, even the Chargers, with all their great players, they couldn't beat him twice this year.
Yep.
And they weren't down anybody when we played him the first time. Their whole roster was there. So, no, I take that back. Was Keenan Allen out?
Probably.
Keenan Allen played, but he was sort of in and out. Same with Mike Williams. He sort of made that spectacular catch along the sideline, but
I'm
as
talking
he
about the
was,
first game.
no, Allen was out in the first game.
Yeah, Mike Williams kind of.
Mike Williams played the entire game. He wasn't injured yet.
He played.
Yeah, and he had a pretty good game.
Yeah, because remember, one of my believe it or nots was, will the Chiefs get burned by Mike Williams?
Yeah, that's right. They weren't burned as badly as they were the year prior.
Right.
But he got some significant yards. He's a great player. He's a very underrated player, in my opinion.
Yeah, he is.
He's very underrated. Too bad he's playing for a bad team, but kind of is what it is. Pick who you.
I mean, if we're talking about, like the Patrick Mahomes thing, this stat's a couple weeks old now, so I don't remember the exact percentages, but the 3 top winning percentages since Patrick Mahomes became a starter is 1 Patrick Mahomes, 2 Aaron Rodgers, and 3 Patrick Mahomes down by 10.
Yeah.
So now I don't remember the exact percentages anymore because it's been a few weeks, but those are the 3 top winning quarterbacks in the NFL right now. It's Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes down by 10.
Yeah. Yeah. And Phillips, right, he said the Chiefs, held the Chargers 7 points after the second, in the second half, after allowing 20 in the first half. So he's right. Spags does deserve his credit. Look, I'm not going to ever deny Spags right now, because he's doing something that we never expected him to do. Who ever expected Spags to take a bunch of rookies and put all of the faith in them, and then them come out and be great for the most part? I mean, they started off the season better than our team did last year, or the year before that, week 7, week 8.
Yeah.
So no complaints. I'm glad to see that we grabbed the right draft picks and put them in the right places. We don't have to have big names to be good. The big names are showing up right now. Snead is one of the best out there.
Mm-hmm.
He's underrated. You don't hear his name a whole lot, but man, he's good.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's funny to think about that. Out of like the top 3, undervalued positions in the NFL right now on the defensive side of the ball, defensive tackle, middle linebacker, and slot corner, the Chiefs are, either elite or arguably elite at those 3 positions.
Yeah. There's no doubt. Phillips said Ronald Jones is our Damian Williams. He probably is. I mean, Damian showed up and showed out when he needed to show up and show out.
Right.
And Darryl did too, for the most part. They just weren't, of course they demanded a little bit more money, and we were able to draft well, not have to worry about it so much. They had a lot of time and money invested in CEH, which, sometimes your ego gets the best of you, and you got to say, well, I did make a mistake by drafting him when I did, and I'm going to hang on to him to the end. I don't think they're going to do that. I think this is his last hurrah with the Chiefs. But, hey, is what it is. You learn, you live and you learn.
Yeah.
So, what else do we got?
Nothing really. I mean,
Nothing.
we
We're wiped out.
Yep, you and I, JP, talked on the phone a little bit a while ago. I mean, the Chiefs are in first place right now, but you guys see anyone passing them? And I mean, I don't see anybody, but who, if anybody were to, who do you guys think has the best shot at that?
I mean, who could it be? I mean, maybe Miami.
Yeah.
I don't know that division though. You got to think.
I was gonna
You
say,
got to think if a team's going to pass the Chiefs have to lose a couple of games, and it's got to be a team that is able to go on almost an undefeated run the rest of the way.
Yeah,
And I just don't see a team
that's
like
true.
the Dolphins or the Dolphins, Bills. Both of those teams are going to end up losing some more games in the division.
right.
It's so tough. So you got to choose a team that is probably going to win out. And so the two teams I can think of off the top of my head, the Titans, just because the AFC West is a garbage fire. And then I've got the Ravens because I think the Ravens are always a tough team to face, but even still, they have their flaws.
Mm-hmm.
So the Titans might be able to just because they are in a weak division, but on the other hand, the Chiefs have the tiebreaker over them.
Yeah.
The benefit on the Ravens side is that they have a weaker division and there's no tiebreaker directly between the two. So I
What
would
about
probably
Cincinnati?
say the Ravens, but well, the Chiefs are going to face them, and
That's
based on the
true.
way that they've played, on the way the Chiefs are getting pressures on quarterbacks, this is not going to be like last year's games.
Definitely not.
There's a
Right.
chance that we squash Burrow like a little bug. I think they're going to be pissed when they go out and play, much like how they played against the Buccaneers and they were
Yeah.
pissed off. And
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes said that going into the game there wasn't any emotion there because they lost the Super Bowl there. But after the game, Patrick Mahomes came out and said that this was the locker room we were in when we lost the Super Bowl. And he said afterwards that was a motivation there. I think there's going to be a motivation there, especially with someone like Chris Jones, who specifically said after that game that if he would have gotten one of those sacks on Joe Burrow, they would have been in the Super Bowl. I think this defense is going to be pissed off when they go to Cincinnati.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think
I'm excited for that
Cincinnati
game.
went downhill their offensive line instead of uphill. So
Yeah.
I think Burrow got sacked. I think he's up to 34 now. So
He's up to so high I don't even look anymore. I'm just like, yep,
Yeah.
it's the most.
he's on
it's a
par to
lot.
tie next year or last year's numbers with sacks.
Uh-huh.
So let's see. Phillips says their left tackle Williams has allowed 9 sacks, the most in the NFL among left tackles. Well, there you go then. I mean, that tells you a lot.
Right.
And he won it. And Philip, if I'm not mistaken, isn't he one of the guys they brought in?
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
it
they
is.
completely rebuilt that offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I knew they brought in 2 or 3 guys, but I didn't know if he was one of them or not, if he was there last year. All I
He's
know
one of
is
the higher
that
paid guys, if I'm right.
Yeah. All I know is they're terrible.
Yep.
And look, I mean, we're averaging what, 3 sacks a game or something insane like that.
I mean, I think
during
if
the
you
season?
combine going back to the 49ers game, I think we might have like 15 or 16 sacks. Let's see. I'm trying to do the math in my head. We had 5 against the Niners, right?
Yeah.
We had 5 last week and against Jacksonville, right? And then 2 weeks ago, I guess. And then did we have 5 against the Chargers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you
we
did.
might have like 18 sacks over the last 4 games.
Yeah. Yeah. We're killing it right now. So
Yep.
they just got to keep that momentum and keep that pace up. And I think with Saunders rolling in and out of there like he's been doing, that's huge.
Right.
That is just huge. I mean,
It's hard to know who to game plan against.
Oh,
for the
yeah.
pass rush.
Yeah.
Hell, Mike Dana being able to step up is huge because
Yeah.
it shows. I mean, they were showing on the broadcast that Chris Jones was getting triple teamed at points. But if you put on tape that Mike Dana if you don't put a guy dedicated to Mike Dana, and now you have to focus back and say, well, this guy can still get production done, so we do have to pay attention to him. So it continues to sort of snowball on you.
Yeah.
And I think putting that on tape is extremely valuable.
I agree. Arrowhead Trees podcast. I think Andy Reid brings out brings out the great plays against Cincy, and Mahomes will go scorched earth that day. He's probably right.
Look,
I definitely agree with half of that. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to go insane that game, but I don't know if I'd say Andy Reid's going to bust out all the great plays because I guess depending on how close it is, he might get in his bag a little bit. But as far as the game's concerned, and if the team really is playing with something on their or a chip on their shoulder, I think they keep it a little vanilla and just crush them that way.
You're probably right. I mean, they didn't
yeah.
have to bring it out last time in the first half of both games. It was just
Right.
our defense let us down in the second half of both of those games.
Right. So I think it's going to actually be kind of a slow pace, just knocking them in the mouth type of game.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just saying that generally speaking, I bet the under with the Chiefs, especially to cover. Like the Rams game coming up, Kansas City's a 14-point favorite. I'd bet the under. But the Cincinnati game, I might take the over. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think that's about all we got.
Yep. I mean, there's been a lot to talk about, but it all comes in floods, and we handle it on one show and then run out of stuff for the next one.
Exactly. Well, we know this, that Kelsey's still an elite player. Gronk is not. We know that Mahomes is the best quarterback in football, and he makes everybody better. And our defense is leaps and bounds better than it was last year with 5 rookies and a first-year starter with us. Oh, yeah, Philip, you're right. They were smoking cigars at Arrowhead, trash talking on. Yep, that's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly with that revenge game.
Yep.
You know, and then
Petty Mahomes is built different, man. Maybe, that should have been my fourth option in my MVP vote.
Should have been.
It should have been Patrick Mahomes, left-handed Mahomes, down by 10 Mahomes, or Petty Mahomes.
Yeah,
those should have been my 4.
Yeah, because Petty probably won the whole damn thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Petty Mahomes would have my vote. I'm going to be honest.
I should have thought about. I wish I had thought about that about 48 hours ago. That'd have been funny.
Well,
we might have to recycle that. If I put that out on Twitter, none of you guys heard this conversation.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and I think Frank's going to. Frank did a good job coming back after being off. That time, and I think he's just going to continue to put pressure on people, and it's just going to be a beautiful thing. We'll do our score predictions on Thursday, but right now we'll just we'll leave that off because I think Juju's definitely coming back this week.
Sounds like it.
I don't know. I mean, McCall definitely isn't, but we got Juju coming back. That's going to be huge. Just having him back on the field is a monster thing, and with the way Pacheco's playing, oof. So anyway,
with the way Pacheco's playing, he might go for 150 plus yards against the Bengals in a couple weeks.
He might. He definitely might. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. But anyway, I guess again, everybody must have been scared. So we'll leave that for another day, and hopefully they'll respond back at one point or another. But I think we covered it all for them.
Yep.
If anybody has any questions, let us know. By the way, we are going to be rolling out a new promotion fairly quick. Waiting for everything right now. Actually, 2 promotions. Waiting for everything right now. And we're going to be doing a giveaway as well. So with that being said, make sure everybody pays attention. Turn your notifications on. Give Justin and Quentin a follow. They've been a huge asset and huge help with this whole thing. So we are going to continue to move forward and move up. With that being said, we appreciate everybody. And by the way, he's right. Sky Moore had a hell of a game, and he needs the ball more.
And my podcast I will be doing tomorrow, and it should come out either tomorrow night or Thursday morning. So when you get tired of your family on Thursday, you can go listen to a podcast about why field turf is more dangerous than grass. Because that's been a conversation that's come up, and I'm tired of not having like the full scope of it. So that's what my next podcast is going to be about. Q's NFL takes.
Yeah. Better yet, play his podcast at the dinner table. The Thanksgiving.
There you go.
Yeah.
Set
it up.
So
connect the Bluetooth speaker,
and if for some awful reason you have any family members that are Cowboys fans, you can roast them on Jerry World for being less safe for the players.
Yeah.
While they lose on Thanksgiving again.
Hey, everybody has that That one person you just don't want to listen to.
Yep.
So
instead, listen to me.
yeah, there you go.
Win-win for
That's
everybody.
right. Yep.
Yep.
It's a great conversation starter.
Definitely. Well, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yep.
And are we going to do the show a day early or a day late this week? Probably going to do it tomorrow night, correct?
Probably just so everybody can have their Thanksgiving ordeal.
Yeah.
But
So
it can still come out
Yeah.
on time, or we can do it early. It's just
we can do it earlier tomorrow if we want. In fact, we probably ought to do it a little earlier tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these shows, when we do them really late, we forget that people are in bed. So, yeah, we'll start doing these live shows earlier so everybody can jump on. I'm sure all those East Coast guys were asleep. That's why they didn't jump on our show. And
that had to have been it.
That had to have been the reason. So,
well,
hey,
we'll get up bright and early for you keyboard warriors next time.
That's right. That's right. Oh, Harold put that out on Twitter. He said, "What are the keyboard warriors going to do? They're actually going to have civil conversations in front of people if Twitter goes down." So I thought that was kind of comical. But, with that being said, we will talk to you guys again tomorrow night. Thanks for everybody for joining in.
Yep.
Peace out, everybody.